I did, but here we are. All right, running back tiers. Running back tiers. In the first tier, we have 4 running backs, and I think these are starting to become the running backs I'd want in this tier almost every week. Saquon Barkley, Breece Hall, Bijan Robinson, and Alvin Kamara. Really see a strong game coming for Saquon Barkley, as I talked about in the show yesterday. But all these options are safe. Alvin Kamara is questionable to play. He does belong in this tier, though. In the next tier, in the second tier, we got Devon Achane up against Tennessee. Tough matchup there, especially if the quarterback scenario being a little bit murky. Jonathan Taylor against Pittsburgh, and we know how that defense has been. We got Jahmyr Gibbs, Kyron Williams against Chicago, James Conner against the Commanders, Jahmyr Gibbs against Seattle, James Cook against Baltimore is on the next tier for me. But Taylor, Achane, Derrick Henry, Gibbs, Mason, Kyron, and James Conner, they all offer like solid production at the running back position. Some of them are matchup dependent. I really like Derrick Henry this week as well, so I have him firmly in my top 10, and I think this is a play that I like long-term. I feel like in order for this Ravens team to win, they got to start trusting Derrick Henry more. So if you were able to snag him while he had that lull for a minute, it wasn't even a lull. He had a touchdown in the first 2 games, and people were concerned about him. So I think if you were able to snag Derrick Henry, that was a good thing. But all these guys pretty much have RB1 ceiling right now. James Conner is the only one who I would say is probably the more of a floor play than he is ceiling play. Tier 3, these are the guys I would put back in RB1, high end RB2. James Cook this week going up against Baltimore, who has shut down running backs. Josh Jacobs against Minnesota this week. That Brian Flores defense. We got Aaron Jones in a revenge game against Green Bay. Travis Etienne up against Houston. And Travis Etienne, man, I'm expecting a little bit more from him. Hopefully his Jags offense can get going and you could continue starting him. Ramondre Stevenson and David Montgomery are also in this tier as well. Those are your rock solid, should be RB2s. Maybe will surprise you with the RB1 day. Maybe will disappoint you with the RB3 day. But for the most part, these guys should perform at the level that we expect. As far as this 4th tier, I would say this is and I got to put Brian Robinson with Brian Robinson also belongs in that 3rd tier with Austin Eckler out. I forgot to include that in the update. He belongs in there in that 3rd tier as well. Brian Robinson probably, I would put him as like a top, probably like a top, almost top 15 play. Almost a top 15 play this week. All right, 4th tier. 4th tier. We got Najee Harris up against the Colts. Really good matchup for him. He is questionable to play this week, so just keep your eye on that. I think the expectation is that he'll be out there. Tony Pollard against Miami. Rachaad White, also a very questionable play for your lineup, I would say. He's going to play. But Bucky Irving dealing with an injury right now, so something, to monitor there. I would bump him up a couple spots if Bucky Irving was out or limited in any fashion. We got Zach Moss against Carolina. Devin Singletary tonight against Dallas, which is a plus matchup for him. Get him in your lineups. Jerome Ford is questionable this week, but if he plays, I'll put him in here against the Raiders. J.K. Dobbins, Chuba Hubbard, Zach Charbonnet up against Detroit. Normally, I would put Zach Charbonnet a little bit higher with Kenneth Walker out. This is a matchup thing against Detroit. Ugly matchup against Detroit, who shuts down running backs. I wanted to drop him lower, but this is the last of the good running backs. That's it. And then Carson Steele is in this tier just because of the offense and in the matchup. After this, there's not a whole lot of running backs that I feel comfortable starting. That's 28 running backs. That's it. Everybody else is in a tier below these guys, and it's tough to say I would want to start these guys in any form or fashion. In this 5th tier, I have Alexander Mattison going up against Cleveland, Chase Brown, Javonte Williams. All of these guys, like I said, these are all riskier type plays. Rico Dowdle, Braylon Allen, Bucky Irving. That's my 5th tier. And all of them have question marks. Like Bucky Irving is questionable to play this week. Braylon Allen obviously is the backup right now. He's played well, but will he get enough touches? He's only been playing like 30% of the snaps, 30 to 40% of the snaps on a weekly basis. Will he have enough volume to justify starting as a flex? Chase Brown looked good last week, but was that a 1 week thing, or is he going to be closer to what he was in the first week or two of the year? Was it just a good matchup against Washington? Like a ton of question marks in this 5th tier. Same thing goes for the 6th tier. I have DeAndre Swift and Roschon Johnson in this tier. DeAndre Swift, not a must-plus matchup against the Rams. Great matchup. I don't feel comfortable starting him or Roschon Johnson. Zamir White is in this tier. Ezekiel Elliott is in this tier. Jalen Warren's questionable play, he would be in this tier. Tajay Spears hasn't shown us the upside that we thought we would have this offseason. He's in this tier. And as a backup, Ty Chandler's in this tier. That's it. Like, there's not a whole lot of starting caliber running backs, unfortunately, right now, who are going to be impactful for our team. So if you have a running back, put a slight increase on their value right now, because after the 28 that I mentioned, it gets a whole lot more questionable when it comes to who you're going to start. So be careful with running back this year. If you have a running back, value it a little bit higher than you want to. And I would be trading for a lot of these players that maybe are, names that we trust, like your Travis Etienne's, your Rashad White's, just players that you might be able to get at a discount in case they do start performing later on. I don't think we just get this takeover of all backups. I think at some point here, talent prevails in some of these situations. I wouldn't overpay, but I am looking to buy low on any kind of running backs that I can right now. All right, moving on to receivers. I'll answer a few.